Well, howdy guys, I'm Zach Ledger.
I'm Christopher Rohde.
I'm Liliana Ibanez.
And our design idea for Century Square Phase 2 was an anchored retail center for the future that affects both first phase and phase 2, which I would love to see as a residential development. So the strategy that we took in going about this project was, first we identified target tenants and their leasing requirements. We approached this from kind of a build-to-suit perspective, assuming that we've already signed up the tenants. We want to ensure that our tenant choice complements phase 1 of the development.
Yes, when we were choosing the tenants, we wanted to make sure that it fit in with the higher end clientele and retail providers of phase 1. And so when we were looking at, let's say our shopping center or men's facial and grooming center, these are not sport clips. These are not HEB, Avita, or anything like that. And then we wanted to bolster the case for tenants that may not be familiar with Bryan College Station to be more interested. If they're looking at aggregated census data, the population and the income streams of students, I think, skews the overall aggregate data quite a bit. And so through a creative market analysis by taking those lower income students out of the equation and putting them back into their parents' zip codes, just as Midway did previously, was able to provide a much more attractive customer base. When we're providing space, we wanted to do so in a way that was economical, that was institutional, and that tenants would be able to understand, and we would also be able to meet investors' hurdles. For the tenants that we were targeting, Sprouts for a organic, higher class farmers market type of food provider. The Gents Place, that's where you can get a shave and haircut. It costs a little bit more than 2 bits. Snippets is, again, with a grooming, but this is focusing more on child-centric. So if you bring the child there, you're going to bring the parents, you're going to bring the mother, you're going to bring the other children, you're going to stay, want to get some ice cream, something. Gold's Gym, we want to not only take care of your fine organic meals, as well as trim your beard, but we want to make sure that you get swole as well, or at least have good cardiac fitness. And then when you've pumped some iron and gotten that sore shoulder, we want to smooth out the kinks with massage heights.
Right, so in our 5-acre tract, it was, as Chris said, define which kind of tenants we were going to have. So now we had to do the actual site development and the project development. To do this, we had to take some things into account. First of all, our main goal is to satisfy an unsatisfied need and meet opportunity with this, trying to avoid as much risk as we can. How to avoid risk and how to maintain a high real estate value? It is by having pedestrian-friendly, controlled traffic, and we decided that the best way to go was with a compact business district model. The way this works is, so you have a fine grid layout of streets, which means you have rectangular grids. This has 2 outcomes. First of all, it gives the people a sense of place, easy transition from one place to the other. It lowers the amount of traffic. Even though we have a certain kind of problem with accommodating as much parking as we needed, we came out with a 255 car parking strategy. One of the things this grid allows you to do is to avoid fragmentation of the space and leave an interconnection. There are 2 ways you can use your planning or your place-making dividend. One is by the organization of the main shop street. Two is by lowering or avoiding to have the main mall facing the parking space. These two things, plus low parking in certain areas, a small width between buildings, high density, approximately 58% of buildings in our site, covered buildings in our site, and how to achieve pedestrian friendly. There are three ways. One of them is by, in this grid line street layout, you need to have streetscaping, you need to have high street furniture, lighting specially accommodated to the site. As we know in the architecture guidelines that we have from Midway, we have already to do this. So we see that they are targeting placemaking, pedestrian friendly, low traffic density. Another one of the things we want to make sure we have is low trip generation rate, which means that when someone parks somewhere, they stay there, their cars stay there, they do their trip, they visit our retail, our restaurants, and they come back to that parking spot, but they don't have to drive to several different places. So with this, I'm going to leave it to Chris, who's going to talk about the marketing strategy.
So, as I was mentioning before, we're looking at the census data, we're looking at the aggregate, and this is what all the other national tenants are looking at as well. And we feel like that's not representative of what's actually going on here. Case in point, we've got ages 18 to 24, you got about 10% overall national average. Within a 5-mile radius of campus, that's about 35%. When you take out the student households, instead of representing about $50,000 average household income here in town, it boosts it up all the way to $89,000. So what we really have to concentrate on is tapping into that hidden economy, and not only looking at it, but convincing others that it actually exists. So what we're looking at is making sure that the tenants realize that students, even though they report no income of themselves, they have money to spend. And that's coming from their families who are average household income is far above average, and even the top 25% is even higher than that. For visitors with the stadium expansion, we've got projected up to 1.7 million. And when they're bringing in about $220 for spending here in town per visit, that's a pretty substantial chunk of change that we need to look out for. Next. So when we're looking at Sprouts in particular, we were able to look at some of their exact criteria of what they're looking for in the space. They're looking for 100,000 population within a 10-minute drive. When you look at College Station within a 5-mile radius, we've got 155. Check. They're looking for easy access and high traffic counts. On University, we've got all day long projected traffic counts between 1,500 and 2,000 cars every hour. Check. They're looking for above average per capita income. Average U.S. per capita is about 38,000. BCS, we have about 89,000. Again, when you take out the students from that census data. Check. And then they're looking for 40% of their customers to be at least college educated. When you take into account not only the ones who already have degrees, have advanced degrees, and are getting their degrees, we actually end up with a little under 63% of the folks within a 5-mile radius are college educated or are actively being college educated. Again, check.
So then we're going to go into what makes our project financially feasible. When we ran the numbers in the budget on the construction, we went using a tilt wall bid of something that I've actually worked on and used those numbers. We came up with a total development budget of about $11,644,154. over 10 years with our cash flow assumptions, we got an IRR of 23% and an equity multiplier of 6.28. We had 63,000 rentable square feet and used their assumption that we'd be selling the improvements in 12 years. When we valued our property for a permanent loan, I used a 7% rate. I played with it a lot and went up on it and went down on it and decided that 7% not only gave us a 1.25 debt service coverage ratio across the term of the project, it also gave us enough leverage to boost our IRR without using too much. And so this here is my development cash flow timeline. And so we're using tilt wall construction. I don't know how much you guys know about tilt wall, but if you look over there, that's what they're using already. And it allows for a faster delivery, delivery being one of the key components of development. So the numbers that I used a similar bid for came into an all-in site work and construction cost of $104.86 a square foot with a 2-month schedule for design and 8 to 10 months for construction. As you can see on the top row, I used the schedule payment for the ground lease and allocated costs differently. Some of them, like legal costs, I just lump summed them in at one point. And others, like your construction costs for the building, you can see here, you have the site work costs in the first 2 months of construction and the shell across the last 6. Tenant improvements, obviously, once you're done with your building shell, and your leasing commissions would be signed at the start of the lease. And so I just want to talk a little bit more about tilt wall. I like to recommend these guys, A&F Construction. We use them a lot on our projects, and they give us good competitive bids. But like I said, it allows for faster project delivery. They pour the panels on site and put them up with a crane. One of the big risks to any construction project is it taking really long, and then your tenants, that you now either pay them or find a new tenant because you can't deliver. It also lowers operating costs throughout the terms of your building management. Concrete requires less insulation, it's more secure, it's more durable, and you can put a lot of different kind of finishes on the outside. And it also creates an institutional grade project. One of the hardest things about getting like pre-engineered structured steel is a lot of institutional investors don't want them because down the line they're going to have trouble with them.
So, pardon me. When we were looking at some of the risks that this project may be open to, we looked at first the financial risks. We're trying to do something that isn't typical. We're trying to separate students from their own individual incomes as a household and trying to place it back onto their zip codes back of their parents. That's new to me, and that's new to a lot of tenants and businesses. So what are the risks with that? The risks are that, well, yeah, college kids are really not going to want to spend a lot. They're still going to want to maintain a tight budget because they are dependent on a third-party income stream. If the parents are driving Mercedes and they're not giving their kids a large allowance, this whole thing goes out the window. Also, for visitors, they may prefer to stay at a Holiday Inn. They may prefer to go to Cheddar's over and above any of our offerings here. People still have to earn money for a living, and they choose to spend it in a fashion that is going to provide the best bang for their own buck. Also, the rents. This one I think is going to be a very large hurdle, just because it's new. This development hasn't gotten up and running yet. Phase 1 is not complete, and so people are not able to see the benefit that this development can provide yet, and so they're not willing to plunk down that sort of chunk of change on their pro forma just yet. Also, we may have to find anchors before we can get any of the inline tenants. You're not going to have a specialty shop go in there and have the lion's share tenant box be dark. It's not going to provide enough traffic for your specialty business to be successful. Next. Also, one of the issues that was recently being looked at is Brazos CAD was looking to perhaps tax the site. Now, is this considered on campus? Is it considered off campus? A&M and Midway think it's on. So that's something out in the ether that has yet to be determined. Also, when it comes to rental rates, other landlords own different buildings in the city. And they may either pilfer folks that Midway's looking at to bring into town, and also Midway's trying to get them to relocate to a more central location and create that synergy and critical mass for their development. Other landlords are not going to let them up with a fight. A key example is Midway had in their marketing material earlier this year that they were talking to Merrill Lynch, and they were looking at 8,000 square feet of an office building for them. Well, they're not at Century Square. They're still in their old location, and they ended up renewing there. So, that's an issue to keep an eye on. Also, issues with weather. We've had several construction delays with the project this year. Material, and especially labor. That's one of the reasons why a lot of the buildings were done with wood as opposed to steel, because of the skilled labor shortages in Houston. Next. So, what are our conclusions? Basically, for market analysis, we feel as though the average consumer in College Station has a lot more money and a lot better taste than the U.S. Census Bureau gives them credit for. And I think conveying that message to tenants is probably the most important thing to making the Century Square and this part of it work. Also for the physical analysis, because of its walkable location to A&M, as well as several other multifamily units in the area, I think this is going to be its #1 seller, as being able to drive there and be able to walk and enjoy the environment. And for financial feasibility, by using tilt wall construction, not only are you promoting an institutional grade product, you're also ensuring that your construction timelines have the best chance of being kept, and allowing for the investor hurdles to be met, while also being able to curate tenants in an environment that they enjoy as well. Any questions?
So, wait, I did have a question. It's just, that's escaping me. That was the one you wanted to ask. Could you flip back to your slides? That had to do with the financial, the pro forma. Okay, one more.
I'm not sure what the random orange highlighted is.
We really want to emphasize the partner construction.
It'll come to me.
It's Fox.
Could you all talk about the site design y'all ended up with? Just kind of...
Right. Do you have it in the USB?
It is on the USB.
We have a cap file, but we didn't upload it. That's
Okay.
a problem. But it's on the appendix, or like on the file where developing. I can explain you a little bit about it. So as I told you, like, since parking was one of the biggest challenges of the site, like we chose Sprout, so it's asking for 140 parking spots on site. So to do that and to promote walkability, it's hard, because you either show parking or you choose to not show parking and cover it with buildings, right? But we just have 58% of buildings. And in order to, again, like promote walkability and placemaking and sensing and all this alignment of the streets we want to do through the compact business district, we really have to spread these buildings, and we cannot tie them all together and then do a big parking lot, right? So we decided to, one of the requirements, we didn't decide, one of the requirements of Sprouts in order for us to build it, it's that it has to be visible in the main street, right? So we have to put it in the university. I will have loved to, like, push it a little bit, or to hide a little bit the parking, but it definitely needs parking on site. So Sprouts is right on University Drive, and then you have parking in the sides in the front. Of course, you have to have some space and some big space for the trucks to come with all the like food, the services, and everything we have to do. So we need a big driveway over there. So in the right side of the development, we have it closed for entering or anything. Then in the top we have 7,000 square foot building in the right. Our gym is 20,000 square foot, and then we have two little 3,000 square foot more retail spaces. The problem with these 3,000 square foot retail spaces is that they can be hidden really easy. So they can be, unattainable and achievable for people to walk through them, since the main attraction is Sprouts. So what we did is to bring them to the left, and that way we just align them with Sprouts, because we're talking about the grid line. So we really try to follow that pattern. Then in the middle you have some walkable sidewalk, and then in the right you have the 7,000 square foot retail, which is the hair stylish, the high-end hair stylish. One of the things with the massage spa. One of the things with the 3,000 retail spaces is that one, it's hair stylish and grooming for kids. One is hair stylish and grooming for parents. So we wanted to have them together so that the parents go drop the kids, then they go to their recording hair design establishment, and then they can come up pick up the kids. So they have it like on a side, like close to them, and they feel safer to walk through them. Another one of the problems we had is, since it's so close to A&M, we have all these parking problems, like how many people don't park illegally, or how many people don't get a ticket by trying to park just whatever, Taco Bell, McDonald's, or we can talk about all these establishments in University Drive, in North University Drive. So what we came out with was with a strategy of pay parking, since also the district model we're using, which is the compact business district, asks for pay parking and garage. But since we already have a garage in the right, we didn't want to do the investment for another garage box. So we just try to spread the parking along the shape of the shape, around the shape, and then leave the middle for walkability. And I have to mention one more thing. There were two big challenges also. One is to promote a linkage between the phase 1 and the phase 2. The second one was to promote a linkage between the land uses, which is another challenge, because it's not only to go and retail, but a really important thing of retail is that retail doesn't happen unless you have residential and unless you don't have offices. So Central Square is one of the things they really have, is that they have really live, work, play, which shop will be part of that play environment. So multifamily use, which is a residential use in the right of Central Square phase 1, will have a daily base, or will be like the base for this retail, right? Restaurant, retail, everything. Then you have these offices, which will promote an income at some parts of the day. Counting that A&M has 63,000 students, and they are expecting 1.5 million visitors in a year. You will have a better flow. So you really have to make sure you can link this hotel to this retail, because in our design it's mostly retail. So we need not only to link it with site 1, but also with the other uses.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, my question was about pre-leasing. So in your model, are you assuming that you're closing on these leases before construction of the entire site?
Correct. We kind of took a build-to-suit approach to this Capstone project.
100% of all leases signed?
Yes. We feel like 5 tenants is a pretty reasonable grouping that you can get. And we chose tenants that we felt they weren't just another restaurant or another place to go shop. It was something that actually brings people in. Yes, a grocery store is a shop, but people go there. Everyone wants to be around a grocery store. The idea on the haircuts is you have mom can take the kids to Snippets to get their haircut. Dad can go over and get one from a nicer place.
Or meanwhile, mom goes to the gym.
Part of the theme is healthy life and lifestyles and healthy grooming. you know, we wanted folks that, those things that are important to them, they didn't have to look far to find their next stop.
But if you let me add to this something really quick, how many people wouldn't want, you know, a rec center in that side of the school? Because our rec center is already like full. You go at 6 a.m. or you go at 11 p.m. and it's like you cannot leave, you know? So like definitely exercise. A&M I think is one of the top schools in the country regarding exercise and, you know, like running and physical activity. I think I read this last year in some kind of article. So like, this is really something we do as, you know, like, it's our culture. And I feel like rec center is already, even though it's been in renovation, I spend my days over there and it's not enough.
And what size do you think?
20,000 square feet.
First question for me was, just to clarify, did y'all have, how many stories did y'all have proposed?
One in everything but in the gym. In the gym is 2-story.
Okay.
So we divided that 20,000 square feet in 10,000 and 2-story.
So I noticed y'all had 63,000 square feet overall on the site, I believe is what I saw.
That's rentable square feet, yes.
Okay. And did y'all have a break, y'all did all surface parking, and did y'all have a breakdown of parking footprint and open area?
Yes, I have another tab I built out in the spreadsheet. I think the whole entire improvement structure covered about 50% of the site.
Okay.
58, 15.9.
Okay, and then another question, you said at the beginning, you would have liked to seen it more residential, but y'all didn't propose any residential?
I mean residential on the phase 3.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
they have that extra parcel to the north of
Yeah.
this site and the northeast as well. I think I really liked the idea originally of like game day cottages or kind of an age-restricted alumni last stop express.
So if we would have had the whole
That is
site, we would have looked at that.
yeah. So this is like an anchor for phase 1, and then to help expand phase 3. It's a longer-term approach. Yes, Lynn.
So what's the rent point with Gold's Gym?
What's that?
What's the rent?
The rents that we use, they are probably a bit on the optimistic side. With the grocery store, we use 23 a square foot. And since we're the hard corner at the prime location in College Station, we model 30 for the other retail space.